Okay, it's 7:10. Calling the meeting to order of the Beaver Dam Lake Protection and Rehabilitation District Resident Advisory Board. So, I'm sorry? Yeah. I wanted to do just a quick, well, let's stand and do the pledge. All right, ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
States of America. The Republic.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
Which
for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty
liberty and justice
justice
for
for
all.
all.
Yay, teamwork makes the dream work. Thank you for those who stopped. All right, so I am going to mute all participants at this point, just so we don't have a lot of background noise. And you are able to unmute yourselves. Again, if you're just joining us, I would ask that you, if you have questions, put them in the chat as we go. I will try and answer them as best I can keep up with them, but there are a lot of us tonight. How it works, if residents would like to speak, if this is your first meeting in a while, is at the end, you can request time and you'll be given 3 minutes, and then the board members will have 3 minutes to respond to you. But again, I try to answer questions as I go if possible, so we can stay on topic. Someone said they cannot hear me. Can you still not hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay. So I think I'm being heard. It might just be an issue with somebody's iPhone because it doesn't have a name. So I'm not sure who sent that to me. So I will try my best to get to the questions in the chat box. Please do not unmute during the meeting to ask questions because we'll be here forever and ever. And I try to be respectful of time. So do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Dave, motion to adopt. Fred, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so let's do a quick welcome. If this is your first meeting, because I know I got a lot of add-ons, we'll try not to be super repetitive for those who have been here before. My name is Erica Dahl. I have served as the chair over the past year. Walter, do you want to introduce yourself as our new board member as of January 1st?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just a real brief introduction just to keep the time focused on the dam update. Thank you to everybody who voted me, and I deeply appreciate it. I'm a resident of Orange County now for 23 years. My wife, Kathy, and I, we moved out here to, my wife, Kathy, and I, she wanted a log home. I wanted to be on a lake, so we found a log home on a lake. That served our purposes perfectly for what we were looking for. So we moved out here in 2015. Professionally, I've been working in Indian Point for many, many years. My background's a nuclear engineer with 41 years experience. I have a lot of project management experience, quality control, continuous improvement, regulatory and environmental compliance. Relationship-wise, I have a really good relationship with the county executive and leadership team out in Orange County. On a time-wise, in May of 2021, my wife and I will both be retiring from Indian Point, freeing up a lot of time to help serve the Beaver Dam Lake here a lot more. Bottom line, I have 2 objectives, which I'm going to try to serve. One is I have a very strong vested interest in getting the dam project, I don't mean it in a curse word, but the dam project finished and the lake restored back to its pre-construction status as soon as we can. And then secondly, once we get it there, focus on the lake quality, get the water quality back to where it needs to be by implementing strong water quality management, which we'll talk about later. And that's about it.
Welcome to the team, Wally.
Thanks.
It's an impressive resume, and I think we can use a lot of those skills right now. So I'm very excited to have you. Again, for those of you who are new, Fred, do you want to give a quick intro?
Yes, I'm Fred Widman. I've been, this is my actual 2nd year on the board, but been volunteering quite a bit with lake management, such as the CSLAP program, the permit program, and various other things. My background is my wife and I have been, I've been a resident here for about 6 years. She's been a resident for 7 years. We were married 6.5 years ago. And my background is that I'm a chemist by trade, and then had a lot of work with government regulations for hazardous materials, both in the transportation and in hazardous materials handling issues, and safety, same as Wally. Probably not as extensive since I wasn't involved with the nuclear regulatory area. But yeah, it's something that I've grown to really love this area in the 6 years that I've been here. And unlike everybody else, I'm anxious to get this lake refilled again. And whatever can be done, I'm willing to go ahead and do my best to do it. And that's about it for me.
All right, thank you, Fred. Colette, you want to give a quick?
Yeah, quick. So I'm a resident here for 22 years, so I'm not really sure. It's starting my second year with the team, and I've been the secretary for also. I have 4 kids. I love it here. It's a beautiful community. That's it. Sorry.
Great. Mr. Miskovic?
I don't know how to follow Wally and Fred and Colette, but I am Dave Miskovic. I have been a resident since 2016, so much shorter than everyone else, actually. I'm starting my second year as a board member here. Obviously, starting in 2020 was quite the year, but we're looking forward to changing that to a wonderful 2021. And I'm just looking to be a workhorse behind this and just do whatever needs to be done to just get the job done. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Kevin, are you on the call right now? I know Kevin is present, but he's kind of popping in and out because he is still at work. So he may pop in and introduce himself later. Dr. Boyle is an orthodontist with an office in New Windsor and in Rockland County, and he lives on the lake and serves for Blooming Grove. So welcome, and let's come in hot here and give the dam update, right? That's why everybody's here, and that's what everybody wants to know about. So good news about the dam. The bottom line is that the plan to start refilling the lake is the end of February. So I'm going to give kind of a little bit of background as to what leads us to that and the schedule planned from now until February. Because we do have, usually we have about 35 to 50 people on the call tonight. We do have 80. So I have to assume that we have a few new folks. So what I am going to do is I'm going to just explain the definition of one thing because I think it's going to be helpful. I'm going to share my screen with you. Give me just a moment. I've done this the last couple of meetings, so I apologize if this is a bit repetitive for some folks, but you're not going to understand what I'm talking about if you don't see this. Okay, so here is our big, beautiful dam. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, and you're going to see that there's these are doors. They look like doors. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are called Fusegates. And how Fusegates work is if we were to have a big weather event, something much, much more substantial than a Hurricane Sandy. I'm seeing that my internet, okay. What would happen is when the water rose to a certain level, one of those would trip. And then if it continued to rise, the second one would trip and would fall down and allow small amounts of water through. That's how the dam functions. So these are the Fusegates. Keep that in mind. I'm going to show you another angle of our dam, and it'll illustrate what the problem is and what the concern is at the moment. Okay. So here you go. Now we're on top of the dam looking sideways. So your Fusegates are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Down here at the bottom, where you see the orange markings, there should have been rods that came up through the spillway. the steel plates that you see on top here were to be, this is called the Fusegate toe abutment. So they were to act as hinges. So when those Fusegates fall forward in the event of a catastrophic weather event, those Fusegate toe abutments would prevent these giant Fusegates, solid bricks of concrete, from just continuing to go on with the water and down the spillway. So they act basically as a hinge that holds those Fusegates on. Now, it reasons to say that they have to be anchored with a lot of strength, right? Because they have to hold those heavy Fusegates should they trip. The problem is, due to contractor error in a misstep by the inspector, the rods that are supposed to come up where those orange spray paint marks were not installed. So that began October. They discovered this in October. So we've been updating people, or we've been updating at this meeting since October on the Fusegate toe abutment issue. So they spent a great deal of time coming up with different potential design plans. So where we left it at the end of last month was that they had received several plans and they had looked into sourcing the materials and realizing it would take 12 to 13 weeks to even receive those materials. And they decided 12 to 13 weeks was too long, unacceptable. So they began working with the manufacturer of the Fusegates to come up with a more fiscally possible plan that could be done in a shorter amount of time, particularly given the weather. So the design engineer, so this is the new update as of this month. The design engineer has provided the final redesign plans and specifications for the Fusegate toe abutment and anchoring, which were forwarded to the contractor. The contractor has confirmed constructability, so they say that it's possible, sourced the necessary materials, and was given authorization to proceed with purchasing the materials on December 30th of 2020. So this is kind of this is the schedule that will be ongoing with the project now. The contractor has informed us that the week of 1/4, they were preparing the formwork for the revised concrete toe abutments at their shop. So there has been work going on, even though there hasn't been work going on site. They were prepping the formwork for the revised concrete work. This week, the week of 1/11, the contractor's GPR sub is expected to be on site to remark the underlying steel reinforcing. Later in the week, the contractor is scheduled to be on site to perform saw cutting and removing 1/2 inch of existing concrete to roughen the areas where the revised toe abutments will be installed along the bench and sloped portion of the first step. So we are expecting them to be on site Friday at this point. The week of 1/18, after the roughening, which is removing that concrete and making it so that the next layer will adhere better. After the roughening of the concrete is complete, the contractor is scheduled to perform the drilling for the toe abutment dowels and anchor bolts. Upon delivery of the material and installation of the toe abutment reinforcing, anchors and embedded steel will be installed. This is expected to take approximately 2 weeks, after which the concrete can be poured. Curing time must be met before being cleared to refill the lake. While there are still unknown variables that could alter the schedule based on the information provided by the contractor, we are on track to request authorization to begin refilling the lake toward the end of February. This may require a site visit by the DEC prior to authorization. So that is the dam updates. They are looking to refill end of February. We went over this in a past meeting as well. but I think it bears going over again because I always get questions about it in the email. The approval to refill the lake is in stages. And I want to talk about what that timeline looks like and what the stages are. So the DEC will approve the refill to happen at the rate of 6 inches of water per day for the first 19 feet. So 19 feet takes the lake up to about 97% full. So if you live on the shoreline, you may not have water all the way up to you yet, but by all intents and purposes, if you're looking at the view, the lake's gonna look pretty much full at 19 feet. Then they're gonna hold it for 3 weeks and inspect it to make sure the dam is working as it is supposed to work. Then again, they can refill it to 26 feet at the rate of 6 inches a day, inspect it again, and that'll be about 99% full. Then they can refill it to its full level, which is about 29 feet. So that is the timeline that we are looking at right now. So a couple of questions that we asked the DPW is, how is weather going to affect this? And I know that that's one of the things that was raised because of what happened last winter. So what we were advised is that the contractor is responsible for tenting and heating in order to get this, to keep this project on schedule. So at this time, the board is, board members, not the entire board, board members are having meetings with representatives at the DPW on a weekly basis to ensure that this schedule stays on track, or if for whatever reason it is off track, that we are informed of it sooner than later. Someone asked what happened last winter. I'm not going to go all the way back. Okay, so I see that it's Jane. So I'll respond to you via email. Essentially, they found wood cribbing where there should have been concrete, and it caused a major delay that ran us into winter months. I have another question. What is the process for filling the water? In other words, how do they fill it? So it's a naturally filling lake. So you may notice there's streams that go through it. So there are two, they're called sluice gates, which are essentially drains that have been opened. So they would close those gates and the lake would begin refilling naturally. I always, I laugh because for people that are over by the dam, if we get a pretty substantial rain or precipitation event, I always get emails, are we refilling? Because over there it tends to look like it fills pretty quickly. How has the new design been approved by the county and state? Yes, the new design has been approved to go forward. All right, so I'm hoping I'm answering questions as I go. So weather should not impact it. We did talk about, and I know there has been much buzz about fiscal repercussions. The contractor has admitted fault, and it is on their dime to correct this. So they will be doing, they will be paying all of the associated costs with this error. Do I see any other dam project update specific questions? I don't see anything in the chat box. I'll give you guys one more second to provide input. How will the vegetation be removed? So I don't see your name. I see MM Taller. So what I can do is you should have received, if you were on the email list at the time, you should have received, we did pay a lake management limnological company to come in and do an evaluation on the vegetation. And someone, hang on, just make sure everybody's muted here. Sorry about that. And what came out of that, I'd be very interested to show you the study that came out of that. And then we could chat a little bit more about the vegetation issue. The short iteration of what they found was that historically our lake has been eutrophic. And what that means is that it has an excess of a couple of nutrients, specifically phosphorus and nitrogen. And so when we talk about lake health and the algae growth that happens in our lake, that occurs because we are historically a eutrophic lake. A lot of those excess nutrients were found in the sediment. The existing nutrients that are in the vegetation that's currently growing in the lake, they determined much of it came from the sediment. So it's essentially basically net neutral in terms of adding excess nutrients to the lake. We also asked specific questions about will the vegetation pull up and cause the water to be murky? We were assured that most of it, in fact, would not. And of course, there will be some of it. If you live on lakefront property, what you are able to do without putting a gasoline motor on the lake is you can go and remove the vegetation from your lakefront property to ensure that it doesn't stay, in the ground underwater. We did have 2 weeding events here at the community building to ensure that our swim beach is cleared of weeds to the best of our ability also. So I'd love to, as to not bog down with things that we've talked about in the past, I'm happy to send you that report. And if you need clarification on the meaning of any of it, because it is a bit jargony, I'm happy to have a side conversation with you about it. We'll also talk later about the Lake Health Committee. And if you're interested in being part of that and hearing more about it, you can attend one of those subcommittee meetings. Will the cold weather affect concrete curing? So that's a good question. We did address that in our conversation with the county last week. They said a couple of things. It's a much smaller, it's not like last winter when we had to place all of the concrete of the spillway, which was a lot of concrete. This is a smaller area, and the weather doesn't necessarily impact it to the same degree. That being said, there are things that they can do, such as tinting and heaters, to ensure that placing the concrete will not cause a delay. If we hear otherwise, we will obviously inform folks. Are we going to have a big party once it's fully refilled? A hard yes. How long after the lake has been refilled to 100% capacity will fish restocking begin? Good question. We will be working with DEC hatcheries to find out the best recommendations. We don't want to spend money, taxpayer dollars, on fish that will die when we put them in the lake. We want to do it in a way that's environmentally friendly and eco-friendly to the fish. But let's see. Just joined, so not sure if the question was asked, but we'll be restocking the lake with fish. Yes, we put money in our budget to do so, and we plan to pursue that. Is there a penalty clause for late completion of the dam project? Also, will the inspector be sued for incompetence? So I have some figures that we did get back in November, and I shared this at the time. So we are currently holding 5% retainage from every payment. So we're currently holding $217,000, and the contractor has yet to be paid $345,000 of the total $4.7 million contract price. Of the amount yet to be paid, over $100,000 will be held until all work is complete. So there will be well over $317,000 withheld until all work is complete. And they added, I'm confident that this will be incentive enough for them to complete the work. So that's where we are right now. There's not an expected lawsuit information that I can share with you, but funds have been retained for these types of complications, and we will let you know if anything moves in that area or changes. Will there be efforts to remove debris from the lake before it's refilled? Is debris litter in the lake bed? Or are we talking vegetation still? If we're talking vegetation still and you didn't get the vegetation report, shoot an email to bdlboard.com. Just say I need the vegetation report. I'm happy to send it out. I'll also get it up on the website so that everybody can access it that way. I have questions about water quality and clarity after the lake is filled. And the person read the study, fantastic. So I understand it's safe to leave the vegetation, but I'd love to ask a question or two privately so as not to waste others' time. Okay, so shoot an email to bdlboard@gmail.com. Happy to answer that question for you. Penalty clause would be in addition to withholding payment. I don't believe that there is a penalty clause. I can follow up with that question to DPW, but I don't believe so. Those are all the, when were the emails go out to get the new stickers and hangers? That's a good question. So I have to be just completely honest with you about that. Fred has been wonderful about sending out the ones that currently exist. At the moment, with the dam and the lake refill and some of the other issues, that has fallen low on the priority list, and we will be addressing it. But I don't have more information for you yet. Withholding funding until completion is not the same thing as imposing the liquidated damages clause that is standard for any government. Yeah, so absolutely, there's been discussion about liquidated damages, but right now the focus is on getting the project complete. And I will provide as much information about that as I can going forward. Should I get my Sicilian relatives to assist with project completion? No, thank you. Okay, so those are all the questions that I see right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw it to the other board members and ask, do you have anything to add?
Just a couple things, Eric, I'll add a couple. All the questions were really good. The fish restocking, it's hard to ask a question that isn't in the minds of all of us right now. I live right on the lake, and every question asked, it's coming down on me really hard also. I want the same things established. The fish restocking, one thing I will encourage, Eric is doing a great job. The board has been doing an amazing job. This is a community that we all live in, so we're going to be looking for people to step up and also get involved with any of these things that need to get done, such as Lake Health Committee and fish restocking, which Eric has already talked about. And the other big thing is we're trying to get the whole community involved with this, to the best of our ability. I'm not sure the total number of households. The way to get this done is through the Beaver Dam Lake mail list that Eric had spoke about. So if you have any friends or relatives or neighbors who are not on that right now that are in this community, please make sure they reach out to Eric and get on that list. That's about all I got.
Fred, I saw your hand up. Go for it.
Basically, if you recall, Erica, on the last meeting we had with the DPW, the question came up regarding liquidated damages that could be imposed upon the contractor. While nothing is official at this point, correct me if I'm wrong, Erica, that if some do get imposed, besides the money that we're holding back, that money minus the additional charge for additional inspections and things like that would be, shall we say, removed from the total cost of the contract. So it's not a case of money going, where's the money going that would be imposed upon the contractor. It would go against the contract. So in theory, while nothing's been decided officially, it would reduce the liability or the amount that's owed on the contract. Am I correct on that, Eric?
I would want to check the verbiage on how you just addressed it. So I can certainly follow up with a more, I want to make sure I'm providing correct information. So I believe that's correct, but I do want to clarify. Colette, Kevin, Dave, did you have anything to add about the dam?
No, you know, I think you're working hard, and I wish that more people could understand all the hard work that is put into everything that's being done. That's all.
Thank you. I really appreciate all of the people who participate in these meetings and come to learn more about what's going on. And I especially appreciate people who have volunteered to come and do projects such as weeding. If you have questions about what the board does or how we do it, or you know anybody that does, have them call. Happy to talk more to folks about what we do and what's going on. And we're always happy to have more volunteers. So speaking of which, is there a place where the details of this contract will be posted online? I believe a lot of it is on the county website already, but I will double check, and I'll also send that link out because they have recently rearranged the county website. So that's why the meeting minutes haven't been posted yet. Once the approval for the refilling, the lake takes place and begins, do you have any idea of how long it will take to get 100% full? So it's a complicated question. We have data about, and I'll toss it to you, Wally, in just a second. We do have data about in the past how long it's taken to refill, given the month that we are now planning to start refilling. But if the timeline shifts in any way, it does change. Walter, I know that you had some of that data if you wanted to share it now. I don't know if you still have it in front of you.
So as I figure out to get off a double secret mute, what I did is I went back to the 1992 study that was done, and we have to consider obviously is two things: how much volume do you have, and also what's the inflow rate that you're dealing with. So it's really going to be seasonally dependent. The lake here is about 1,940 acre feet, which corresponds to about 84,000 cubic feet. The watershed to lake ratio is about 46:1 if that's flowing fast. Long story short, I'm going through all that. In the months of January, February, and March, you're averaging probably about 16 cubic feet per second. If you get into July, August, September, it drops down to about 3 or 4 cubic feet per second, just to show how it varies. So assuming we are able to start here in the end of February using the data from 1992, to accomplish the full refill would be about 70 days. And that's with that's averaging about 14.25 cubic feet per second, if that helps.
I see a question. If the lake refill goes as scheduled, will there be plans to reopen the beach for this summer? So it is in our budget to reopen the beach for this summer. We were planning to, we're still planning to do that. And then the follow-up question, or does COVID prevent that anyway? So that's a Department of Health question. As we get closer, I'm sure that they will be providing guidance on that. So right now, if we have a lake, we will have an open beach. And if the Department of Health impacts that in any way, we'll share it. Okay. Those are all the questions that we have at the moment. To clarify, the vegetation that is close to the shoreline, once the lake is refilled, will continue to protrude out like the pond, or will that die off? So it depends on what type of vegetation. So some of the cattails and things may protrude past the surface. But much of the vegetation will die and sink. But that's the guidance we've been given from the lake management company. Okay. All right, so I am going to toss it to you, Wally, to talk a little bit more about the direction of the Lake Health Committee.
Okay, just a brief discussion on it. Like I'm only here about 2 weeks right now, so I'm hitting the ground very, very cold. The Lake Health Committee, I believe, has already met at least once. and they got some of the groundwork done. The goal of the Lake Health Committee obviously is dealing with the water chemistry. The challenge ultimately what happens when you have the phosphorus and nitrogen out of skew, what that results in is your algae blooms. And when you get the algae blooms, the toxicity in the water affects the fish and also impacts your ability to be able to use the water. What I'm going to start doing immediately is, as part of Lake Health Committee, on, what's our date again? It's going to be the January 29th. I'll send out a meeting invite, but January 29th at 6 p.m. All personnel in the Beaver Dam Lake District that are interested in being on the Lake Health Committee, active members of it, to actually help get involved to do what we need to do to get the lake water back to where it needs to be. I'm going to have that meeting on January 28th at 6 p.m. In the meantime, what I'm going to be doing is trying to pull all the data for like the last 10 years and put together the trend charts from what we were seeing. I know in 2018, there were a lot of challenges with the water quality. It was closed a bunch of weeks. I don't know if Fred can fill any more on that, but that's kind of where we're at. So what I encourage everybody to do, if you have the time, please get involved with the committee. Thanks.
And if you'd like to get involved with the committee, you can email BDL board and just request to be added to the committee listserv, which is just a separate email if you're interested in those specific topics. And we'll make sure you're added. Okay. I did re-email the county for those who did attend the Lake Health Committee to follow up with the sediment testing that we're getting. And we do not have those results as of yet, so we're still waiting on that. Next item on the agenda is motorized vehicles, guys. No gas-powered motors of any kind are permitted on the lake bed. No quads, no lawnmowers, no vehicles on the lake bed. No gas-powered motors on the lake bed. Thank you. Another topic that we had talked about, the next item on the agenda, is the cable here at Reserve 4. So back in the summer months, I'm going to say it was our July meeting, we had discussed, a lot of residents had asked for the cable that goes across the driveway here on Reserve 4 to be removed so that they could drive down and access the property during the day without having to walk down the hill. So as a board, we had decided at that point to remove the cable to see how it went. We did ask some neighbors, kind of keep your eye out. Unfortunately, we have had several incidences where the police have had to be called. And we've had, some drinking and parking and stuff like that wasn't supposed to happen here, unfortunately. So we appreciate the officers that dealt with some of those concerns. And so because it was something that had to be addressed immediately, you might have noticed that we did have the cable put back up across the driveway of Reserve 4, and it was determined that that's probably best for nighttime. So the reserves are supposed to be used from in daylight hours. So we had a volunteer who lives next door to our community building offer to lock the cable at 5 p.m. and then open it back up. So it will be available and accessible during the day, including the weekends. But at 5 p.m., the cable will go back up across just to prevent some misuse of the properties by residents and non-residents. We don't want that stuff down here, especially when the swim beach is open back up again. And we want to be good neighbors to the people who live next door. So, but we also want to ensure that people can access the properties. So even if the cable is up though, and it shouldn't be during the day, but there is an opening to walk through. So you're still able to access the property on foot if the cable is up, but this prevents folks from kind of driving in and doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing, unfortunately. So if we have any comments from the board or thoughts about changing that plan from board members, or are we okay with letting the neighbor next door to the community building continue to lock it at night. And board members will be back up for that neighbor.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that, Eric. And like I said, I live close enough to it also. I'll be a backup for that.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm fine with it. Thank you.
Fred, I saw your hand up.
No, it's, yes, I'm fine with it. I just wanted to know the actual details. Should that person not be available? Yes, Tom is there during weekdays, that it could be opened by him or whatever. But is there backup contingencies as far as who will notify who if it's needed, especially on weekends?
Okay, so what I can do is I have that gentleman's, the volunteer's cell phone number, and I can do a group text with a few board members who have offered to be backup for that person so we can come up with a system. But at the moment, I think his plan was to text or contact me about it, and then we can figure it out. But we should formalize how that.
Good,
works.
thank you.
Yep. Have any comments about the cable across Reserve 4? No, okay. And I'm gonna go back to the top of our agenda for the reorganizations. The board reorganization happens at the January meeting every year, where we re-elect our own officers. So the three positions are chair, vice chair, and secretary. So would anybody like to start with a nomination? We'll start with chair.
I'd like to nominate Erica to be chair for this year, calendar year.
I second that. I'll third that.
That's worth it.
I accept the nomination.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I accept the
You
nomination.
think you can handle it, Erica, for another year?
You know, I'm developing pretty thick skin. I think we got a good crew here. I really appreciate the team we have. So thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Woo-hoo.
And the next officer is the vice chair.
I would like to nominate Walter Bloss for vice chair.
Walter Blash, you've been nominated as vice chair.
I'll second it.
Fred,
I'll third
second.
it. I'll third it. We go that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody. All
Are you in,
right.
Walter?
I accept that nomination. Thank you.
You were stuck
Great.
with it. Edward. Welcome. All right, and secretary, we have a nomination.
I'd like to nominate Colette Fallon.
Dave, you're good at nominating
I am
people.
good at nominating.
Dave nominated Colette. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Walter seconds. All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Colette.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Colette and Erica, for your efforts this year.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
and
you, Fred.
it is, yes. We're a diverse crew.
Yeah.
All right. So, that being said, are there any other board member comments before we go to resident forum?
Yeah. Did we address all the comments that are in there for the resident comments?
Oh, wait, hang on. We missed one. Backyard of 10 Waterview Terrace has a big drain pipe and other structure on the lake bed near Fire Lane across from Waterview Terrace. Will it be removed? I don't think there's any plan to remove the drain pipe at this point, but if you have concerns about it, shoot us an email at BDL board, and we can check it out. If it's maybe a stormwater issue or something like that, we can get more information for you. I think we addressed everything in the chat box for the moment. Are there any board member comments before we go to resident forum?
No.
Thank you for the thank yous.
Thank you, guys. We really do
Thank you.
appreciate people that come to the meeting. I know it's a little bit, it can be a little bit active with 80 folks on a call, but we do appreciate your participation. All right. So I'm going to open it up. Resident forum. Anybody want their 3 minutes?
Hello, Erica. Tom Coral here, and I was just wondering whether there's a plan for the removal of the tree trunks along Reserve Number 8.
There is not a plan at this moment for the removal of those tree trunks. But if you have an argument as to if there ought to be, then we can certainly chat about that. I know that you're active in the Lake Health Committee, and that might be the forum for that. And I will send you and Walter an email to connect with one another prior to that meeting, because I know that you had some potential experts that would like to come and speak with that group. So.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else? Will the videos be up on the county site at some point asking for a friend? Yes, I would like to post the Zoom videos. I really appreciate everybody's patience with all that we've learned this year, having to make a quick transition to a virtual medium. I'm very excited for when we can all meet in person again, but I think virtual meetings are here to stay. It's made it possible for more people to attend and participate in their community. That being said, it would be great if these meetings could be posted to the county website. So I do have it recording to a cloud right now, and I expect to be able to turn it into a link that I can share on the website. I got a question in the chat box. Is there a subcommittee for lake restocking? Yes. It's Mr. Chris Voll, who's no longer on the board. I used to chair that committee. So we will be looking to, as we get closer to the lake refilling, collect people additionally for that subcommittee. Would there be support to renovate the community building? And if so, how do we go about doing it? It could use some updates and additional functionality. I don't know. The community building has, I think that's a question for maybe post-COVID. Any report on Santa's responses at BDL? That's a great question. Yeah, so if you have Santa believers in the room, please ask them to leave. So what I loved about the Santa letter project, for people that know about it, is that I asked for a volunteer on social media to do a crafting project. And the idea was that they would make a little Santa mailbox, and then children in the community could drop off letters talking about acts of kindness that they've done over the past year. And then Santa could potentially respond to them. So the response that I got was from an honor student in the community. So I want to shout her out, Megan Miskovic, so Dave's daughter. So if you know the Miskovics, or you know Megan Miskovic and family, please thank her, because every child that wrote got a handwritten response and a goodie bag back that they delivered in their mailboxes, socially distant, from Santa, thanking them for their acts of kindness, my daughter included. So please, if you know Megan, embarrass her, tell her she did a fantastic job. Has anyone been commenting on the speeding issues on Valley Drive? So not in particular. I know that we do have Officer Bedetti, who was on the call at the beginning. If you're still there, Officer Bedetti, Valley Drive speeding issues. They did, when they fixed the lake Road Bridge. They did put up like a speed, I don't know what it's called, but you know, one of those things that show your speed, and the officers did monitor it. And what they found is that most of the people who were speeding were residents. So we have 72 folks still on this call. So don't speed on Valley Drive. And we'll pass along that to our.
I'll add Shore Drive to that also.
I think speeding's, continues to be a problem. And I appreciate that the officers that we had attend this meeting over the summer did increase patrols here for quite some time. Watch what you wish for, right? But
They did put the stop signs on Valley too, to, slow down people. Just FYI.
I do see, I would still love to get involved in some sort of beautification or seating area to enjoy our new $5 million project when it's completed. The dam's beautiful. I guess we have to look at safety at that time. So I'm certainly not saying no, but yeah, it's gorgeous. Shore Drive for sure, Lake Road. All right, so I'll make a list of those places and I will forward them along to our partners in law enforcement, New Windsor and Cornwall. And we do appreciate their assistance in keeping our community safe, especially now that families are home more often, and appreciating the walkability of our community. Speeding from shore is a big safety issue. Has there ever been addressed with local police the possibility of a speed bump or stop sign or speed patrol? So we did have New Windsor and Cornwall officers here. It was addressed with them. I want to say that they were certainly pulling people over. I'm going to imagine more tickets were issued at a time, but we can toss that to them again. Speed bumps, that's not a board issue, that's a town issue. But if that's something that people want to get behind, we can maybe have a conversation about that as a community with the municipality. Is there a plan for a gate at Reserve 9? There's no plan for more gates at this time. Maybe speed limit should be lowered. I'm gonna mute you, Terry. All right, maybe speed limit should be lowered to 25. Again, we are 3 municipalities here. So if that's something that you're interested in, we may have to take that up with the municipality. That's not something that we can handle as Beaver Dam Lake Board. Do we have any interaction with the Stewart Airport committees? That's a great question. So yes, I try to attend all of the RAC meetings I can, RAC, Restoration Advisory Committee meetings. I've posted the link to those meetings in the past. They deal specifically with the PFAS issue. If you have questions about that, that information is on our website with a lot of history, which several newsletters, I think back 2017, talk about that issue. So I do try to attend that meeting. I know there are a couple of other residents who do attend that meeting as well to address PFAS. Are there any other questions? Any update on the Cumberland Farms COVID issue? It's open again. That's all I know. They did have info on their website about why it closed. Yes, they have not let any of our residents join the RAC committee. Okay, let's connect. I may have a couple of, if you're interested in joining the RAC committee or catching the ear of somebody who is on the RAC committee, email BDL and we can talk more offline specifically about it just to respect time, but it's a meeting that you can attend without necessarily being on the committee. It's very, in my experience, is very jargony. I find it more helpful to read the information that they put after. Also, there are a couple of groups that are represented on the RAC committee that have written kind of opinion papers on it. And I think that those are valuable to check out too. So I can connect you with some of those resources. There are questions? Not hearing any more questions. I'm not seeing any more questions. So with that, oh, should we be concerned with the airport as a water source for BDL? There's two answers. I would say that any water flowing into BDL is something that we should be concerned about. And continue to monitor going forward. And the EPA and the Stewart Airport Department of Defense has an interest in restoring the water quality. So I'll give you more info on that if you want to dig a little bit deeper. Thank you for that question though. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, I hear Dave motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Fred seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you so much. I am gonna stop.
Thank you,
recording.
everybody, for attending.
Thank you.
Thank